Prince Institute. Exercise 151. Sir Happy Singh. Ready? Start. Sir, the earlier speakers who have participated in the debate covered quite a good area. I feel the Banking Commission was constituted much earlier than the banks were nationalized, and their terms of reference became irrelevant the moment the banks were nationalized. I really do not know what purpose would be served by a debate on their report. Of course, the Honorable House must discuss the functioning of nationalized banks during the last 5 years, and that is what I should like to do now. The banking system has played a vital role as an effective instrument of economic growth and social welfare all over the world. I have had occasions to go through their functioning in certain developed countries. I was really amazed how a country like West Germany, which was almost devastated, could succeed in such a short time in building up its economy with the help of $100 billion given under the Marshall Plan by the United States. The credit for building West Germany, I feel, goes to none else but the banking system. What have we done in our country in the last 27 years? Banks were placed under social control, and then this banking commission was appointed. In 1969, 14 commercial banks were nationalized. Of course, it is a debatable point whether the banks were nationalized for political reasons or economic considerations. My personal view is that the banks were nationalized entirely for political considerations. Bank nationalization was undoubtedly a major event in the history of free India. It had or used the aspirations of the people. There was a feeling at that time that nationalization of banks would prove a panache to all our economic problems. The common man got an assurance that he would get the required credit to keep his business going. The nationalized banks have functioned for last 5 years. Today, let those who were responsible for nationalization ask whether the objectives for which banks were nationalized had been served. Your own finance minister concedes now and then in various parts of the country the banks have failed to serve the national objective. The other day, a junior minister for planning talking in Pune had said that bank nationalization was the greatest failure because it did not serve the national objective. These are hard facts. It is no use being a part of the bandwagon without seeing the repercussions and the consequences. Bank nationalization, unfortunately, had not improved matters. If you make a very objective study of it in respect of profitability, efficiency, productivity, or any aspect of the banking system, you will find it has deteriorated and the depositor has suffered greatly. Let me put a question not to the finance minister but to the Congress members who hail nationalization, whether the banks in this country have proved to be an instrument of economic growth and social change, and whether they have helped in any way to arrest the spiral of galloping prices. Make an objective study, go deep into the problem, and answer yourself. Then speak what your conscience expects you to say. There is no doubt that the nationalized banks have done wonderfully well so far as branch expansion is concerned. It was a very happy development, though, of course, it is a question of doubt whether they were opened in the right areas, in the backward areas, or in rural areas where they were expected to be opened. There is another aspect to the same problem, and that is whether it has not increased the administrative cost to such an extent that the depositor who had put his money into the bank cannot get a fair return. I personally feel that the branch expansion was a good move in the right direction. But because of the enthusiasm, we have gone at such a rapid pace that the administrative cost has gone up very high. Further, the deposit collection from the new branches was not very encouraging, it was quite poor. There is another aspect to judge the situation, and that is the aggregate deposit as percentage of national income, and that is low. While we feel happy that the deposit mobilization has been very high, we have also to see that the rate of money supply in the country, because bank deposit has got a direct relation to the money supply in the country. Therefore, we cannot afford to forget one aspect of the problem when we judge the total situation objectively. I do not feel very happy there. The previous speakers have laid a great deal of emphasis on the fact that the commercial banks or the nationalized banks have not served the priority sectors adequately and effectively. It has been considered by the finance minister that the nationalized banks have failed in this respect. I need not go into it at all because it is an acceptable situation in the country today that the banks were nationalized to serve the priority sectors, that is the agricultural sector, the small scale sector, and schemes for the self employed.